Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Live Your Balance podcast. How exciting. This has been a long time in the making, and it's been something that I definitely have gone back and forth on quite a lot because, fear gets in the way and tells you that it's not something that's within your capabilities and it's not something that you're able to do. But you know what? Sack that. I am not prepared to spend any more of my life living in fear. So here I am. I have my microphone set up in my little office space in my second bedroom, and we're doing it. We're doing it because I especially think that this is the perfect time for this podcast to be coming out because there's so much chaos going on in the world at the moment. There is so much uncertainty. People feel very unsettled and overwhelmed, and actually I think this podcast could be a real welcome relief from all of that chaos and carnage and horror, because I might be a bit of an eternal optimist. I really work hard to try and see the world from a cup half full point of view. So for me, I am trying to really see this time as an opportunity because so much of our lives are being stripped back. So much of our lives are being pared back to the very bare minimum, basically. And that actually gives us a really good chance to take a long, hard look at what works for us, what serves us, what doesn't serve us, so that when the time comes, we can rebuild our lives from a place of balance, from a place of what feels good over doing what we feel like we should be doing or what somebody else tells us we should be doing. So I'm really hopeful that this podcast will be a welcome bit of solace in your week. And I'm so excited to be here with you today. So each episode is going to have a very similar format. We're going to start each episode with a bit of a chat and a catch up, which is basically what we're doing now. I will then have a feature every week that is called How Does She Do It?, where I will be bringing amazing women, everyday ordinary women who are out there living their most balanced lives onto the podcast to answer some questions and share with us how they get through it, how they do it, and how they balance it all, which I think is going to be amazing. And I've got some great women lined up already. And I know there's even more amazing women out there who are just waiting to join me on the podcast. So that's very exciting. And then each episode will also be doing a bit of a balanced discussion where I will be diving into something that maybe came up in the chat, something that maybe our guest highlighted as a challenge or something that gets in their way, so that we can together as a collective start living our balance. Does that sound okay to you? Because I think that sounds bloody great. And I'm not sure that there's anything else out there like this in the podcast market at the moment that I'm aware of, at least. Obviously, I've not listened to every single podcast in the world, but I think we're off to a good start. So in these first 3 episodes that are going to be launching today, Sunday the 29th of March. It's March, isn't it? Yeah. Sunday the 29th of March. I am just going to take this time, this introduction period, to just highlight a little bit more about what each of those features of the podcast will look like. So like I say, this is our catch-up time. This is where I can fill you in with what's been going on in my balance world. It's where I can potentially check in and chat about anything that's been happening in the world. Obviously, there's lots of stuff happening in the world at the moment, and I want this to be a corona-free zone as much as possible, but at the same time, we can't deny the fact that that is happening at the moment, and I don't think burying our head in the sand about it is effective either. So we're just going to be using this time and space usually to have a bit of a catch up and just share what's been going down in the Live Your Balance and Elevate Wellness world. And in the next episode, I'm going to use this time to tell you a little bit more about How Does She Do It?, which is our amazing guest feature. And in episode 3, I'll be telling you about the balance discussion that we'll have at the end of each episode. Whew. I need to learn how to take a breath. This is the first bit of learning from hosting a podcast. Jordan, remember to bloody breathe. Anyway, with that said, I am going to leave you for a moment and we will be back with How Does She Do It? And today your guest is yours truly. So you are going to have a whole lot of me talking in your ear today. I thought it'd be great to start the podcast off with me sharing how I do it. Because I am not proclaiming to be perfect or a major expert, but I like to think that I have got it down to some degree when it comes to creating balance in my life. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Welcome to How Does She Do It, the part of the show where we dive into finding out how our wonderful guest creates and lives her most balanced life. Each guest will answer the same 7 questions each and every week so you can get a really great idea about how she does it, how she creates and lives her balance. Today's guest is yours truly, so without further ado, let's dive in. Question 1. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you spend your time? So as you hopefully know, I am Jordan. I am a life and wellness coach over at Elevate Wellness, where I help women to step away from overwhelm so that they can create more balance in their lives and ultimately start living their most balanced life. This is something that I am really, really passionate about, and I really feel like this is my purpose. It's where I'm supposed to be, and I came to this through a background in occupational therapy, which is what I do as my 9-to-5 job. So as an occupational therapist, I help people overcome barriers and obstacles that are standing in the way of them doing the things that are really meaningful and purposeful to them. And I do that in specialist mental health services for the NHS. So I have been doing that. I qualified in 2013, so we're coming up to 7 years since I qualified and have been practicing as an occupational therapist. I actually started my journey into OT a decade ago this year, which is insane. So between my 9-to-5 job and my side hustle, that takes up a fair amount of my time, but outside of that, I like aerial hoop. I really like to spend time with my favourite people and just generally having a good old time and looking after myself and doing all the things that feel good. Question 2. What do you feel like you're good at when it comes to managing your time, including making time to look after yourself? So when it comes to managing my time, I think I am really good at balancing. I have got really tuned in to what my needs are and knowing when I need to push myself and also when I need to just give myself a little bit of a break. And I think that has been so important in me being able to build a business alongside working full time, alongside having a life. Because if I didn't practice what I preach in terms of creating balance, I would be burning myself out left, right, and centre. So I have got really well tuned in to what my emotions are saying, what my body's telling me, and I don't get it perfect every single time. There are times when I do end up feeling a little bit frazzled and a little bit burnt out, and usually they're the times where I think I know better and I don't listen to what my body's telling me. So they're the times when I just try and push through. And sometimes you might just need to do that. Sometimes you might intentionally put yourself out of balance in order to achieve something that's important to you, like a short-term goal, with the knowing that once that is done, balance can resume. And sometimes I have to do that too. But for the most part, I think I am really good at knowing when to stop, knowing when to slow down. I'm getting so much better at starting to feel confident in saying no to things and getting rid of that FOMO feeling that, that I'm missing out on something by not doing something with other people or not saying yes to an event or an activity, because it's all feeding into me creating my balance and me being the master of my life and not feeling like I have to be at the mercy of other people all the time. I think that is really my superpower, and that is something that helped me build Elevate Wellness to what it is at this point in time. Question 3. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to balance? Okay, so I think the biggest challenge that I face when it comes to creating balance, and I don't see this as a bad thing because I love a good challenge, but it's been overcoming my mindset and crafting a mindset that supports me to create balance, because I have a lot of limiting beliefs that have stopped me over the years from moving towards things that would make me happy and moving towards things that fill me with joy and doing things that push me outside of my comfort zone, because my ego would tell me, well, what if people judge you? What if people think you're stupid? That's a ridiculous idea. And so I haven't taken action, and I've worked so hard over the years to start to reframe and rewrite my mindset. But it's something that I have to work on every single day in order to sustain it and keep building it and keep developing my mindset as I move through new levels and new challenges in my balance journey, because creating balance is a journey at the end of the day. It's not a one and done thing. We don't just have a balanced day and then, well, hey, we have a balanced life. It is something that you need to make a commitment to. And I find that the times when I come a cropper with living my balance often comes down to my mindset, my thoughts and beliefs at that time, and my ego getting involved. So that is a big challenge, but it's also a big blessing at the same time, because I enjoy it. I love working on my mindset. It's one of my favorite topics to teach about, to talk about, to dive into in my one-on-one programs and free trainings. And it's something that I will be doing more and more on in the future. And it's something that for me is a priority to work on every single day, because that's what helps me live my balance. It's, you know, your thoughts create your reality. So your mindset is a driving force behind living your balance. Question 4. What do you do to help you juggle everything that you need to juggle? So one thing that I find so integral to helping me keep on top of everything and balance all the things that I want and need to do is prioritizing. Prioritizing what's important to me on any given day or week or month, in line with the goals that I have and that I'm working towards, and how I'm feeling and where things are at in my life and my business. Prioritizing is key. So every single morning when I do my morning routine, I have my Malpaper daily goal setter journal, which I just bloody love so much. And once I've done my gratitude and my affirmations in that, which you will most likely, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me post that pretty much every morning, at least on the weekdays, I post that every morning. Once I've done that, I then set myself my priorities for the day. And I try to stick with 3 priorities each day. So that might be things within my business. It might be actually if I'm feeling like I'm getting a bit run down or I need to slow down a little bit, I might make one or 2 or even all 3 of my priorities to do with looking after myself and having downtime and time for me. But I really try to make sure that every day I set myself my priorities and I look at what's important to me on that day for creating balance, whilst also moving things forward in my life and my business and my relationships and all the other things that are important to me. We can't do everything all at once. And I think this is a marathon, not a sprint. So actually, it's okay for things to take a little bit longer than you maybe want them to take or you expect them to take. Those are just kind of judgments and expectations anyway. So I just try to go with what feels good and just focus in on my priorities. And if I get more things done than my 3 priorities, then great. But I only push to do that if it feels like it's within my capabilities for that day. I try not to push myself beyond what feels good, what feels balanced, what feels right for me in that moment. Question 5. What's your go-to for when you feel overwhelmed? So when I feel overwhelmed, more often than not, it's because my thoughts are running away with me. I feel like there's too many things piling on top of me, and my kind of innate nature is to keep going, keep doing and pushing through and get these things off my to-do list. But I found actually one of the best things I can do for myself in those moments is to take a step back and to just give myself some time and space. So I really focus in when I'm feeling overwhelmed on what I need to look after myself. So that might be going for a bath. It might be spending some time reading. It might be having a bit of a dance or going out for a walk. And I really have to, in these times, kind of force myself to stop and take a step back, because my brain is telling me, keep doing, it will get easier. But actually, I know from experience that actually taking a step back, looking after myself, makes me far more resilient to everything that I might want or need to do, or that might be kind of pulling me in all those different directions. And it helps me step into more of a wise mind space where I can be a little bit more reflective at the things that I'm feeling overwhelmed about. And quite often, once you take a step back and just give yourself that time and space, those things don't feel that overwhelming anymore. They don't feel like as much of a big deal. They don't feel like they're quite so pressured and stressful and needing of your time and attention right now. So I really think like just stopping, taking a step back and recharging your batteries is one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed. Question 6. What's one habit you do to look after yourself every day that's non-negotiable? I think for me, this is definitely my morning routine. My morning routine is pivotal, really, in me being able to go about my day in a way that is really meaningful and kind of stay connected and balanced in everything that I want and need to do. So I have quite a structured morning routine, especially during the week, because obviously I have to get up and I have to go to work. And I also want to spend time working on Elevate Wellness in that time as well. So my morning routine just gives me that time and space to put myself first each and every day. The first thing I do in the morning when I wake up is give myself time. I don't jump straight into getting ready for work. I don't jump straight into my to-do list. I have time to journal, practice gratitude, use affirmation. If I want to take time to do a bit of movement and yoga, I allow myself that time. So there is some flexibility in my morning routine. It's not super rigid, but giving myself that time in the morning, even if it's just half an hour, is totally non-negotiable for me in order for me to be able to show up for myself in the best way possible and ultimately then show up for you guys in the best way possible. Because if I'm not looking after myself, then I sure as hell can't give my best self to anybody else either. Question 7. What does creating a balanced life mean to you? Creating and living a balanced life to me is a life where I have the space to choose. I have the freedom to choose how I spend my time and what I do and what that means to me. For me, I want to be the CEO of my own life. I want to have freedom to choose. That's a really important value to me. So me living and creating a balanced life means creating the opportunity for me to have freedom and choice, for me to effectively be more of the master of my own time, for me to be able to take a whole day to look after myself if I feel like I need to, and to be able to let go of any guilt that I might have about that, for me to spend my time working hard on building a business if that's meaningful to me, and to not feel guilty and to be able to let go of any guilt that I might have about that too. And I really want to create the opportunity to live a free life, to have the freedom to choose whenever I want to. And that was a huge factor behind me creating Elevate Wellness, because I wanted to choose how I got to serve people. I am confined to serving people in a particular way in my day job because I'm bound by more regulation and red tape and policy and procedure. And I wanted to create a space where I could serve people in a way that met all of the things that I'm interested in. I could serve people in a way that was free from constraints and restrictions. And so everything that I do really when it comes to creating and living a balanced life comes down to having that freedom to choose, having that opportunity to make a choice on how I spend my time. And I acknowledge that I am in a really privileged position to be able to do that. I know that there's many people out there that don't feel like they have the freedom to choose. But for me, that is something that is a really important value and is pivotal in me creating a balanced life. So now you know a little bit more about me and how I create and live my balance each and every day. I wanted to take the balance chat today and use it as an opportunity to discuss and dive a little bit deeper into morning routines. Because as you will have heard, my morning routine is pretty pivotal in me creating and living my balance. Honestly, I don't think I would be where I am today, sitting here talking to you, creating a podcast, if I didn't have the morning routine that I do. And that's a bold statement. Like, I know that's pinning a lot on a little bit of time spent every morning, but that morning routine means so much more to me in the moment and also in the grand scheme of my longer term goals than maybe meets the eye initially. Humans are creatures of habit. As much as we might like to think that we break out of the mold and we do things outside of routine, actually, we feel safe and contained by routine. We feel safe and contained by these regular patterns of behavior that we do each and every day or each and every week that allow us to know where we're at. There are anchor points. And from those anchor points, we can create a plan of action, we can create structure, we can create meaning and purpose, which allows us to far more effectively spend our time. As humans, we are constantly looking out for routine. We're constantly looking out for regularity. Even when we go on holiday, does anybody else ever sit on the same sun lounger pretty much every day? Because we like habit, we like familiar. We like to know where we're at. For me, my morning routine gives me a chance to check in with myself each and every day so I can start the day from a place of looking after me, because that's something that's really important to me. So I make a point of making time every morning to put myself first, because I know that stands me in better stead for taking whatever else the rest of the day has to throw at me. It's hard for me to compare what a day without my morning routine looks like to a day with my morning routine, because I'm a stickler for making sure I do my routine every day. But I know that since I've implemented a morning routine, I've been far more focused on my goals. I have put far more effort and energy into working on my mindset. And that has allowed me to create massive shifts in my life from where I was 6 or 7 months ago to where I am today. So what should a morning routine look like? Well, this question is a bit of a tricky one to answer, because everybody has different needs, different things that are meaningful to them, and different things that they might want to get out of a morning routine. For me, my morning routine is all about giving myself time and space to be in the moment, to focus on myself and focus on my mindset. But for you, a morning routine might be focused purely around self-care or personal care. It might be focused around exercising and moving your body. Really, where we need to start when it comes to crafting a morning routine is thinking about what is important to you. What would you like to be doing in an ideal world in the morning in order to start your day off in a way that feels really, really good? This can be a great one to sit and just focus in on for a moment. Just close your eyes, give yourself a little bit of time and space to just think, what would my ideal morning routine look like? How would I be spending my time as soon as I wake up in the morning in order to set me up to have the most balanced day possible? Ask yourself that question and just see what comes up. Just see what thoughts, what feelings come to you in that time and space. And that's a great place to start from when it comes to building your morning routine. Now, for me, my morning routine has changed and evolved over time, and it's something that I like to keep as a fluid process. It's a routine, but it's not a routine that's set in stone. I am flexible depending on how I'm feeling on a particular day, but I have a few structures that I stick to that are always a core part of my morning routine. And that is, firstly, journaling. And for me, that is in the form of writing down what I'm grateful for and writing out various affirmations. Now, I always write down 3 things that I'm grateful for each and every morning. For me, gratitude is a practice that not only helps you focus on the good in your life, but it helps you raise your vibration. So you're starting the day from a high vibe emotional state rather than a low vibe emotional state. So even on the days where you wake up when you're feeling cranky, you're on the wrong side of the bed, you wish you'd have got more sleep, you should have gone to sleep earlier, etc., etc., etc. Even on those days, as soon as I drop into that space of gratitude, it instantly lifts my mood. It instantly helps me tap into that wonderful, wonderful feeling. And when I practice my gratitude, I really try to feel into the physical sensations of gratitude in my body. And for me, that feels like a really warm heart space that kind of radiates out of me. So I practice gratitude and I write various affirmations. And the affirmations change depending on how I'm feeling, what I'm focusing on, what my goals are, what I'm working towards, what's happening in my business, what's happening in my life. So I just go with what feels good when it comes to writing out my affirmations. But one affirmation that I always write, and this is a Marie Forleo classic, everything is figure outable. And I truly, truly believe that that is a mantra to live by. Once I have done my journaling, I will also sometimes just free journal and free write whatever comes to mind depending on how I'm feeling or how much time I might feel that I have that morning. Some days I wake up a little bit earlier than other days, so depending on how I'm feeling depends on whether I dive into free journaling. But that is something that over recent weeks I have been doing a little bit more of, and I've been finding it really helpful just to get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper. Once I've finished my journaling, I then go about setting my priorities for the day. So I talked about this in How Does She Do It Too. I focus on setting myself 3 priorities for each day. And I write these in my daily goal setter journal. I just have a think about where I'm at. I have various goal related sheets of paper stuck up around my desk space. I have a look at where I'm at that week, where I'm at that particular day, and I set my priorities based on what I might need to do in my life and in my business, but also based on how I'm feeling that day. So if I've woken up that day and I'm feeling a little bit low vibe, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling like I need a little bit more time for myself, then one of my priorities might well be to make sure I stop doing anything work related early, or I don't do any work that evening, and I plan in and schedule in that I'm going to have a bath because that's something that makes me feel good. I really try to do this intuitively based on how I'm feeling, and I try really hard to let go of feeling that pressure to keep constantly busy and to be constantly doing things, because I know that that pressure doesn't necessarily help me move forward and get closer to the goals that I'm working towards. Once I've written out my priorities for the day, I then move on to doing whatever else might feel good. So some days I might pull an oracle card or 2 for myself. I always pull a quote card in the morning that I share for my Instagram community. I might then do a little bit of movement or do a little bit of yoga or stretching if that's something that I feel like I need. Or I might just leave my morning routine at that some days. That might feel like it's enough. And I might then spend a little bit of time in the morning focusing on my business or doing small admin tasks that don't take much time, that I can get done so that they are kind of out of my mind and off my to-do list. So my routine in all takes about half an hour. It's not a huge amount of time. Some days I make it last longer. Some days I literally do the bare essentials. It depends on how I'm feeling and the other things that I might have going on in my day. But the thing is that it's always consistent. I always get up and do the bare minimum every day. Gratitude, affirmations, priorities, and then anything else is a little bonus and a little extra. Now, what I don't want you to do is think that your morning routine has to look just like my morning routine. What I would like you to do is go back to that exercise where you focused on what your ideal morning routine would look like and start to come up with a list of different things, different activities that you think would feel good to do in the morning. Just write them down and just feel into it for a moment or two and see where you're at. Once you have that list, then you can start thinking about working it into a actual structured routine. And I think one of the best ways to implement a morning routine, and this is what I did, this is basically how I trained myself to be able to get out of bed before 5 a.m. in the morning, is start gradually. So if you usually get up at 7 o'clock, then aim to get up at 6:45 and then aim to get up at 6:30. And that might be all you need extra to implement your morning routine into your day. But if you gradually work on getting up a little bit earlier, adding one thing in at a time, it's going to make it far easier to sustain that routine in the long term. And that routine is going to become far more of a solid structure in your day if you can build on it slowly, gradually, and consistently. Because remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so when we're creating balance, sometimes we just got to focus on doing things one small step at a time. And that is what gets us to balance quicker ultimately, because it's easier to balance in one extra small thing than it is to balance in a whole brand new 45-minute morning routine that you might have momentum for a week or so, but after that you start to get tired and burnt out with it and not able to sustain it. And for me, it's all about creating sustainable balance. So go forth, take some time and space to consider what your ideal morning routine would look like, and then start to think about the small steps that you would take to start to implement this into your day. Thank you so much for joining me today for the very first episode of the Live Your Balance podcast. It's been a blast. I really enjoyed it. I also want to remind you that launching tomorrow, Monday the 30th of March, is my free 6-day Live Your Balance challenge. I'll be running this challenge on my social media channels, my Instagram and my Facebook community, and it'll be running for 6 days from tomorrow, Monday the 30th of March, to Saturday the 4th of April, I believe. It's basically going to count you down from the 3 episodes that are coming up today to the next episode, which is coming out next Sunday. And it will be 6 days, 6 prompts, and 6 opportunities to live your balance. Now, if you would like to get some bonus, absolutely bloody fire resources, then please do sign up to my email list. I'll leave the link in my show notes below, because those of you that are on my email list will be getting bonus resources and prompts to go alongside the challenge each and every day. And they are really, really good resources in there. So I know I'm biased. I know I have to say that because it's my stuff, but I really believe that these resources are going to help you up level these prompts and really, really start living your balance. I really hope to see you in the challenge. I will catch you in the next episode. The next episode is a good one. It's featuring Kat Horrocks, who is also a life coach, and she's pretty lovely. Until then, have a great day, and I will speak to you all soon.